All right, welcome back. Episode 2 for this semester.
I kept the
9.
naming, I kept the numbering
Number
going.
convention.
So like
Yeah,
this
of
is
course.
episode 9. But yeah, second of our new
Of our new
season.
season, yeah.
Yeah.
Me.
Yeah, new host. Scruff 2.0. Okay, so what we got? Obviously big news that we didn't cover last week.
Yeah, so we took the week off because
Dan wasn't here.
I wasn't here, but
Such
also
a jerk.
nothing happened.
Yeah.
And of course,
But then,
something happened
Yeah.
Of significance.
of significance.
Yeah.
But before we get to that,
the
we're
cool
going to
part.
talk a little bit about Aquaman.
Yeah.
So last night, Zack Snyder, the Superman director that everyone loves
the
so
man
much.
that he is.
Wait, this is a good question. Do you like Man of Steel?
I have never been more disappointed sitting in a movie
Oh, this
theater.
is not
Thank God,
Chris.
he's a much better host.
Yes,
already.
now Chris was very
I-
insistent that Man of Steel was amazing.
I saw that in the theaters with a group of 12 people, and it
Yeah.
was the scene that, like, we were all kind of sitting there, like, all right, like, we saw it at midnight showing, we're like, all right, it's going to be cool, it's going to be cool, it's going to be cool, and then the scene with the tornado happened, and all of us did like this. We all just kind of, like, leaned forward and went, what the fuck was that? No,
So
I
all
just
just left.
I did not like that movie.
It wasn't that bad, but like
I
you
didn't
know,
like it.
we okay. All of us don't like it.
Yeah,
Consensus.
fair.
Say, shh.
So,
all right.
Zack Snyder last night tweeted a picture of Jason Momoa, as we all know as Khal Drogo from Game of Thrones.
Carl Drogo.
Carl or Kyle Drogo.
from Game of Thrones as Aquaman.
Which looked pretty cool.
And that's the general consensus, that he looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think the general consensus is also that it's just Khal Drogo. It's not really Aquaman.
Yeah.
Well,
It's Khal Drogo with a trident.
Yeah. Well, there's a certain. I think anyone who's like read DC Comics knows that Aquaman is kind of a joke.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, at least I consider him that. There was like a brief moment where like he was cool when he was dead. That was pretty cool. When he could like summon the sharks during Blackest Night or whatever.
Oh, yeah, that
That was
cool.
pretty awesome. Everyone like got really excited for a while about Aquaman being cool potentially, and then it went away.
There's
but
a
they
bunch
did
of-
Brightest Day.
There's a bunch of weird moments where they like tried to make him cool and whatnot. Like, you ever play the game Injustice?
No.
He's in that game and they like try so hard to make him cool because he has like they give him like lightning powers and like he just throws sharks as his attacks. It's like I don't really know that's what he does, but we'll roll with it.
I'm gonna say that in Injustice, Aquaman was pretty cool.
He was, but like it was.
They
just,
have to go out of their way to make him cool. He's not
Yeah.
inherently cool. Like if you have Batman around at all, like he's gonna be cool because he's Batman.
Yeah.
Because he just has that aura.
But the character has the potential to be cool.
Yeah, if done right. It's just usually not done right.
There was that one weird time where he had like a hook hand or something.
Yeah, that's the Aquaman that it looks like they're inspiring from for this
Yeah.
movie. The more muscular, like tribal-looking, big beard, long hair.
Yeah, which is
Khal Drogo.
Khal Drogo.
which is smart. If they're gonna do anything like that, going away from what the comics usually do is probably a smart idea.
Yeah.
Comic fans don't even like Aquaman that much, so trying to appeal to a general audience with Aquaman, you've got to try something different.
Yeah.
And I think it could pretend. Is this supposed to be like a solo thing, or
I don't.
I have no idea what DC is
I
planning.
think he's supposed to be in.
Oh, he's supposed to be in Batman versus Superman.
Yeah, I think he like popped because
Cameo,
yeah,
Cameo
him and
or-
Wonder Woman I think are both supposed to be in that movie.
Yes, and
which is
the-
so stupid.
whoever's
Gal
playing
Gadot.
Cyborg.
Gal
Also,
Gadot,
the guy
actually.
who's playing Cyborg.
So they're gonna throw all those characters into the same movie because
Because we know how
Because-
greatly that worked in Spider-Man 3. Just
Yeah.
toss characters in and it comes out great.
Yeah.
Well, it's not even. That's like a villain
Yeah, that's true.
problem. Like villains don't scale. You can have you need one villain. 2 villains can work. Once you get over 3 villains in a single movie, it becomes too much. You
Right.
either have to, you can't focus on like you have some empty, shallow villains that you throw them in at the last 5 in the last 5 minutes, like Venom in Spider-Man 3, where it's like you had the character of Eddie Brock around, but like Venom as entity didn't really appear until the end of the film.
Eric Foreman, the intimidating man that he is in that movie.
So it's like once you hit 3 villains or more, it's really hard.
Yeah.
Heroes. It seems like if you establish them well, Avengers proved proof of concept
Mhm.
that you can have a bunch
Right.
of heroes working together and it will work.
But-
Theoretically, you could do the same thing with villains, but we haven't seen it yet.
But the thing is, just like you said, it's like, yeah, when you establish them well enough, this just kind of seems like it's going to be like a cameo. Like you said, it's going to be a cameo, but we don't know how much they're going to be in the movie. Like
Yeah.
Aquaman and Wonder Woman are supposed to be in the movie. It's not like, oh, they said like they're going to be in like something.
Well,
Yeah.
I've said in the past, just when the idea of the movie came out, Batman vs Superman.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be Superman for Man of Steel, right?
Right.
Correct. So they already have a movie with him, solo movie. But then they have a new Batman who
Right.
is in this new universe that they're creating, who doesn't have a solo movie prior and no establishing origin.
But everyone already knows who Batman
Yeah.
is. You don't have to do
Yeah.
the story for the
Fair
third
enough.
time.
Fair enough, but
Yeah.
you are starting a new character in a movie. I thought that is gonna that you gotta handle that carefully.
Yeah.
But
Right.
now they're going to be introducing 3 other characters in the same movie as their new Batman. So you have 4 new characters. Obviously, most of them probably are not going to be very involved in the story,
Right.
but you're still introducing them
Right. I think
and expecting
it's the
people to
new-
remember them.
It's
Yeah.
the new characters that have to be treated with more care. Everyone knows who Batman is. Everyone knows who Superman is too.
Yeah.
They can, nobody needed the whole Krypton scene in the beginning of Man of Steel. Everyone knows he's
Oh,
an
it,
alien.
I like that they had the Krypton scene on Krypton.
Right,
That was a
right.
neat
I mean,
idea.
I actually think that's my favorite part of the movie. Is everything else.
Everything else is downhill.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, like it's just gonna be weird to see how they kind of like try to work them into the movie. Like,
Yeah.
is Batman just gonna be like, I need to go for a dip, and he's gonna be like, what's up, Aquaman? And like high five, and like get a text from Wonder Woman. Like,
I'm
you
assuming-
want to grab a bagel.
I'm assuming they're going to have universe established, throw you into a universe where it's like we don't need to build the Avengers like in the Avengers movies.
Right.
Where it's like there already are heroes in the world doing their thing, just like comic books. It's like you got Wonder Woman doing her thing, Aquaman's doing his thing, Cyborg's doing his thing, and then eventually some big threat will force all these characters who have been existing since we introduced them. Okay, now we need to come together to fight the threat.
Well, that's another thing about the Aquaman picture is it has this huge text running
yeah.
over it saying "Unite the Seven."
Yeah.
So is that like? It sounds so like prophetic.
There was. I had 2 things about that. I'm like, all right, that either means the Justice League or the 7 Seas. I was like, he's Aquaman.
Probably not.
So the 7 Seas.
I mean, it
Province.
could go either way. Yeah, that kind of makes sense.
Well, what does Unite the Seven Seas mean?
He's gonna.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
It means
Maybe
the fish from the Pacific Ocean are finally getting along with the ones from the Atlantic.
Well, the caption that Zack Snyder also tweeted was "the one true king" or something along
he's
those
gonna
lines.
unite the ocean.
Yeah, so like maybe he's not the king of Atlantis at the time of this movie, and he's like, all you
Going
kings
to become?
should be under me. or
He's
something.
he's a down on his luck Atlantean hanging
That
out in
sucks.
underwater bars.
Are there other undersea kingdoms that we don't know about? I don't know.
Is Black Manta gonna show up? I don't know.
He's kind of cool.
Yeah.
He's like underwater.
I was always like Narmar from the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
I always thought he was pretty cool.
I don't know.
At least cooler.
I don't know. He's got wings on his heel or his.
I'm not saying, but I always took him as a bit more serious, and he's usually more of a threat, not really a hero.
That's true.
And I think that adds a bit more to his gravitas, I guess, because he's sort of a threat.
yeah, he's
and
sort of an angry,
poses-
vengeful king.
Yeah, which is I kind of want that. I like that as for Aquaman.
I think that's sort of the characterization they've been going for lately.
Mhm. I think that's the way to go.
It's not the campy, happy-go-lucky riding a giant seahorse.
That would be bad.
Aquaman.
Yeah, that would
that's
not play
fine.
well. That
No,
would
You
do
have
that.
to put the giant seahorse
Yeah.
graphic in at the end.
You gotta
of this.
do something like
yeah,
that.
it's either go for a more serious tone or really hit it out of the park with how campy it is and just
and
bang.
make everyone laugh.
Yeah,
That's-
exactly.
It's such a, but
And-
it's such a.
Both are risky.
It's
I
so
want that,
risky because it's either you're laughing at him or you're laughing with him.
Yeah.
I want that one gif where it's Aquaman and he's just got on both of his feet are flying fish, and there's one fish pulling him, and he's just flying over the ocean.
That's Aquaman.
Yeah,
pretty
that's
much.
what you want.
But I don't know. We'll see. I think it looks cool.
Like everything, we'll see.
I think casting choice is pretty good.
For Aquaman, yeah.
For Aquaman, that's probably as
If they-
cool as you're gonna
Yeah,
get.
if they do want to make him cool, it's all right, let's go with Khal Drogo.
Yeah.
and,
So-
and
I approve of that.
if Jason Momoa can get out of the silent big guy role because
He's been trying to.
He is.
From
He
what I've
has
heard.
been trying to, but he's played Khal Drogo. He's played Conan the Barbarian. It's like
It's hard for him. He's typecast.
Yeah, it is. He's typecast, but also he's like so well spoken in interviews, and he just seems like a friendly guy. He's not at all those characters that he plays, of course, but like they should definitely take advantage of that.
So what if this is the movie though? Just going back to the campy thing. What if this is the one? He's like, you know what? Now it's gonna be full goofy. I don't want to be Khal Drogo anymore.
Well, like I think since he's going to be this, hero character, I think it'll force him to, act more and like.
Well, not force him. Force the people
Force
who make the movie.
Yeah. If you're casting him in that role, he sort of has to talk.
Exactly.
Right.
And it's like I think he'll get that opportunity.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
So, don't fuck up DC.
They will.
It's just Thor underwater.
Yeah. People love that shit. I guess.
True.
I guess.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Thor goes to the beach, starring Aquaman.
Exactly.
Well, people love Chris Hemsworth or whatever.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
They love him.
He would be great Aquaman if he wasn't already Thor.
Yeah, if he
right?
wasn't, just have him in the both movies.
Just a trident in one hand, hammer in the other. Let's go.
I'd watch that
DC
movie.
Marvel, they do a deal to trade actors like the Sony Marvel
Like,
deal.
no, like they trade actors like they're on a baseball team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get Thor, but we get Spider-Man.
Don't worry. It'll work out. All right.
Anyway, now let's transition
To the
the main
The
event.
main event.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. It's part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I never thought it was going to happen, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it was kind of like a fanboy like
friend
message board dream.
Yeah, a friend of mine, actually, huge Spider-Man fan. He's like, this is it. Like after this movie comes out, I can just die. Like I'm done.
I mean, it's one of those things that once superhero movies started to become a valuable, like superheroes as a property were really valuable.
Right.
After sort of in the early 2000s, after Spider-Man, the Spider-Man movies were
That's the
successful.
thing. After Spider-Man.
Yeah, after Spider-Man.
There's an article in Variety that gives the whole history of Spider-Man with Sony and Marvel up until now. Sony bought the rights to Spider-Man for like $7 million.
Yeah.
That is nothing.
Yeah.
Because of that,
Here, you
before
want this dumb
Spider-Man,
superhero? Here you go. I don't know, $7 million.
before Sony really made Spider-Man, superhero movies were never really successful. They had made
Right.
more. X-Men came out. Was
I'm sure the
reasonably
deals
well.
with X-Men and Spider-Man were around the same time.
Like X-Men came out, I think, in 2000 or 2001.
99 or 2000.
Yeah, something like that. Before Spider-Man. And I forget, when did Daredevil come out?
After.
Is it after Spider-Man?
04?
Yeah,
I'm gonna say 03 or 04.
Definitely after.
So there was a couple,
Yeah.
there were a couple, all the superhero movies in that era, even after Spider-Man, were kind of, they
Remember
were average or
Elektra?
bad. Yeah.
Remember Elektra?
They were average or bad. They, they did fairly well, but they weren't really blockbusters. Spider-Man was really successful, and it sort of started that wave of superhero movies being taken more seriously because they brought people into the theaters and they made a lot of money. So when Sony bought that property for a deal, and Marvel sort of had distributed different characters to different.
Right. This was before
studios.
their in-house studio had been established.
Yeah, Marvel Studios hasn't come into the picture for a long time. So you have all the properties scattered to the wind to different companies because they're not really that important. There was no grand ambitions at the time to have them in the same universe. The idea of making a good superhero movie in itself was the end goal.
That was a rare thing even then.
Yeah.
Because it's like, before that, you have like 2 or 3 good superhero movies. You got a couple Batman movies, a couple Superman movies.
Yeah.
Nothing
Primarily
from Marvel.
DC.
Yeah, nothing from
Marvel hadn't really done anything significant. There was like that terrible Fantastic Four movie. Well, not terrible, but like it was just made for property rights. And, and it never really got released.
There are a couple Captain America movies.
Yeah, they're from the 90s.
There were also
None of them are really good.
There were also a bunch of just like really like kind of like off kilter like super like there was like a Spawn movie. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah. They were not like superhero movies, but they were comic book.
Yeah, they were
movies.
like comic. What was
Yep.
Howard the Duck?
Howard the Duck. Yeah.
Blade
Blade.
movies.
Oh, yeah.
Blade, I always forget is a Marvel thing. I always forget that.
So like Spawn, Blade. A lot of the things that are based in comic books aren't heroes per se. Stuff they thought was like more serious and realistic that they could make.
Yeah, because they were all pretty much like rated R. They were kind of like. Now we're looking at it. It's like no, they can't go above R. It's PG-13. This is like the cash grab.
You see, was the properties they were going for were let's take this thing that is a comic book graphic novel, but it's more serious, so it'll work for a movie. We can't make superhero movies because they're less, they're too kiddie.
Plus, superheroes flying around,
it's hard to
powers and stuff, that gets expensive.
Yeah. Limitations
Blade
of special
is a
effects.
vampire movie, just like any other vampire movie that has been made before and will be made 100 years from now.
Except Twilight, I guess.
That's Twilight, yeah, I guess.
But yeah. I think special effects have always been a limiting
Right.
thing up until recent times.
Right.
The quality of your special effects limited what you could do. Having like Mr. Fantastic, without CGI is really hard.
Yeah.
You can't have those impressive visual things that you want to do. You have to sort of have tricks to get around it.
Right.
Or having someone like, I'm using Fantastic Four here, but having the Thing not look dumb. It's really hard.
How do you get the Human Torch on fire?
Yeah, exactly. These sort of limitations, and in the 2000s, mid 2000s, that really started to be a possibility because you had CGI that was pretty good. Again, not always. We look back and it doesn't look too good, but you could do things with it.
At the time, it was fun.
Yeah, at the time is completely passable, and Anyway, moral of the story is all these properties just got to the wind. And Marvel Studios, when was it founded? Like 2005, I think. Yeah. So Marvel, I guess, realized that they fucked up, that these properties were valuable, they could generate a lot of money.
Very valuable.
Yeah. So they were on a quest to get everything back that they had distributed before they knew it was valuable.
7 Dragon Balls.
Yeah. So those properties which they hadn't given away they could use. Right. So they had a good amount of properties not yet made into movies and that they still had the rights to.
Right.
And so the first movie was Iron Man, I believe. Yeah. Iron Man was the first
when they started up, they were working on Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, and Ant-Man. Yeah. So Ant-Man has been in development since like 2005.
Really?
Which is never happened.
10 years later, it's finally come
Iron Man was a good start, and it was successful.
Right.
Very successful. So they started off strong. They managed to not fuck up the Hulk movie. Incredible Hulk I thought was pretty good. Mm-hmm. I think its weakness is that it's a Hulk movie. Hulk movies are hard to do inherently.
Yeah, it's boring.
Yeah. So, but like after the original Hulk movie, I don't even know what studio did that. It was just
Universal.
It was Universal.
Yeah. The second movie was distributed by Universal still because they had to deal with the Hulk thing, but they were more accepting of. Yeah. We'll totally. They make a movie.
Yeah, I think at that point they were like. Thought the Hulk was probably like a dead end property anyway at that point after how badly the movie did.
Yeah, considering there's like a 5+ year gap between the two movies.
Yeah,
so really that long?
Yeah,
really.
So they thought why not let Marvel Studios do it if they want to. So and that worked out pretty well. And obviously Hulk made it into the Avengers, so they thought it was valuable enough. To include it there.
Transforming into a different person each time.
Yeah.
How does he do it? That's his real power.
Yeah. How does he become different people?
How are you Mark Ruffalo now?
I don't know. I like Edward Norton in the role.
I did.
I thought
Mark Ruffalo did a fine job too. I mean,
but I would have liked to see Edward Norton reprise the role in the Avengers. I thought that would have been cool. Anyway, different conversation. Anyway, so the properties have been coming back to Marvel Studios for a while now. I think the only things that are still separate. So we have X-Men, obviously.
X-Men and Fantastic Four.
Yeah, and for X-Men, they've already made a deal with X-Men in the past about using Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch.
Right.
So Marvel Studios. Yeah, they've established that we're willing to part with these characters as long as we can keep making our X-Men films, and that you don't call them mutants or X-Men or whatever.
Yeah.
But you can use the characters.
What are they calling them instead? I forget.
I don't know, something stupid.
Miracles.
I mean, honestly,
that's what they said in the movie.
Oh, really?
I mean, Stan Lee's original idea with X-Men is like he was too lazy to come up with like origins for all of these characters he thought of, and he just called them mutants, and like they were just mutants. It was created out of laziness.
Yeah.
But it ended up being something that was.
It also came out at a time when being different in a social situation was so relevant.
Yeah, no, it ended up working, and I love the idea of X-Men and the stories surrounding X-Men. There's lots of good stuff there.
Social commentary.
Yeah, exactly. But that came later. I'm saying in its inception, it was just like we don't want to think of origin stories for it. And at this point, it's just like they have powers. You can run fast. You have magic. or whatever.
Now shut up.
And I don't, the origin, whether they're mutants or not, it doesn't really matter as much.
Right.
I mean, you do lose the Children of Magneto thing that comes with, but again, it doesn't really matter in the Avengers context.
Right.
Which is what we're talking about with Marvel Studios.
Exactly.
So they made that deal. I think it's a smart deal, considering they wanted those. I think both parties benefit.
It's just like any other fictional character, or with superhero or not. It's interesting to see different interpretations for the same character.
Yes.
Quicksilver proved to be pretty cool in Days of Future Past.
He
stole the show with that
really
the one set piece of him running around that kitchen, was it?
Yeah.
Everyone's
got
it's interesting to see what Marvel Studios will do with.
He got so much shit when they first showed the pictures. They're like, he looks dumb, like the hair looks stupid, and then everyone shut up once that movie came out because he was the best part.
Well, because he looked so dumb in the pictures.
Well, yeah, I mean, he looked silly, but what are you gonna do?
Well, I thought that scene proved in my mind that I know the Flash show is very successful.
Yes.
And but for years I've always been, before they made the show, I was always like, why don't they make a Flash movie? Flash is a cool hero, and you can do those effects now where you can make the Flash workable. And that scene to me proved that if you ever made a Flash movie, it would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Or it has potential to be.
It could be very cool.
Though I've heard the Flash show is very good, and from what I've seen, it's very good.
Right,
So.
they do. They're a little bit sparing on the
which is good. You don't want to overuse it, otherwise it becomes dull.
I mean, they also have a very limited budget. They are a TV show.
Honestly, limited budgets sometimes are the best thing for your creative process.
Right, but regardless of the quality of the special effects, all of the ideas and creativity in the fight scenes in The Flash are all there.
Yeah,
of course they are working on the budget, but it still works.
Yeah,
and it still looks cool.
Which is what you want. Yeah, but they have the potential to make that work.
Right,
and I think they're probably going to have some cool effects going on in the new Avengers movie.
Quicksilver.
Yeah,
Days of Future Past again, or whatever. X-Men Apocalypse.
He's not supposed to have bullet time speed, right? It's not supposed to be that fast. He's not supposed to be able to. Quicksilver in the Marvel Studios universe.
Oh, he's not as fast as.
I don't think he's like Flash speed.
So you're saying he's going to be slower than in Days of Future Past?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay,
that was my understanding, where he's not going to have that overwhelming speed.
I'm Quicksilver. I run at a moderately fast.
I don't know. From what I've seen, they didn't show any scenes in the trailers and stuff where he's running super fast. I don't know.
That's going to be your credits.
Where he's moving and time stops, basically. Because that's how the Flash runs. He runs so fast, the time basically stops.
Yeah.
I don't think he runs that fast. I'm not sure.
No.
So do we know what movie Spider-Man's actually going to show up in, or is that still under wraps?
I wanted to talk about the timeline because, so Marvel makes a deal with Sony, and I believe the nature of the deal is that both can keep making their movies separately. Is that not the deal?
I think they're producing the movie together.
It's a joint production.
It's similar to what they did with the Hulk, where it's
okay.
So Universal will retain, the rights to make toys and all the merchandise and advertising and all that stuff, but Marvel Studios is producing the movie.
Yeah. So money wise, I think what I heard was that for solo Spider-Man movies, Sony pockets the cash.
That I'm so not certain of. It's been so confusing.
I've heard it. I've heard different things.
So confusing.
I don't think that these two
or are they splitting it?
I think they will split it because I think after Amazing Spider-Man 2, which I enjoyed, but I think I'm in a minority in that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I just have a problem with the Amazing Spider-Man in general.
But the Amazing Spider-Man 2 is the lowest grossing Spider-Man movie ever. So after that,
it's made $700 million, but still
chump change.
Yeah. If you don't make $1 billion with your superhero movie, you're dead in the water now.
Right.
Which that's the curse of the success of the Avengers.
Right. It also did come out in a very superhero-heavy summer, which is fair.
Yeah.
But
wasn't Captain America out at the same time?
Yeah, which made more money.
Yeah,
but Captain America got the great word of mouth spread that like I went to see the movie 3 times, but I don't know anyone who would go back to see Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know some people who are very into The Amazing Spider-Man, but I think they're in the minority. I think general audiences didn't really care too much for it in general. I mean,
Right.
a lot of people went to see it, but I don't think it was like
yes, definitely a lot of
as
people.
warm of a reception. People really like Marvel and what they're doing, and this recognition for
the brand recognition with Marvel
is huge right now.
Is like nothing else.
So Andrew Garfield is out though, right?
I'm pretty sure,
I
yeah.
think so. Yeah.
Which is probably I think Andrew Garfield is the strongest part of
definitely
of the Amazing Spider. I think he does a great job as Peter Parker, especially the interpretation of his character that they went for.
I thought so too, but I've actually heard people be like, "No, Andrew Garfield was too cool." They thought he was like too good. I guess
I don't even know.
It's because
he was still a
Peter Parker.
nerd.
Peter Parker is sort of
Tobey Maguire
think
was
of the other end of the spectrum. Tobey Maguire, he's a nerd being picked on, constly bullied. No
also
one likes
looks like
him.
a 35-year-old man already.
Yeah.
So
because
it's
he was like a 35-year-old man.
Yeah, but that's fine. We could talk about the merits of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films all day. I like those movies, but the important thing is that people like that Andrew Garfield in that role. I like him in that role. It's a different, cooler, modern Spider-Man. Something more akin to the Ultimate Comics.
Yeah,
where they're.
You bring up the Ultimate Comics. Is this going to be Peter Parker or is this going to be Miles Morales?
it's probably going to be Peter Parker.
Yeah, if I mean.
Just because I hear so many people being like, "Oh, Donald Glover should be Spider-Man now."
I've heard a lot.
He's like 30.
Yeah.
You can't be Spider-Man.
Tobey Maguire was like 40.
I don't know anything about what's his name. Miles? No,
Miles Morales.
I don't know anything about that version of Spider-Man.
He's young. That's all I know.
He's
all I
like
know
13.
Is, yeah.
I know it was a big deal that it came out because he's like a minority
Yeah.
superhero character, especially Spider-Man, who's very famous. But I don't know how popular that is in the comic community, and I think Peter Parker as a character is the strongest way to go. Like Spider-Man isn't just cool because he's Spider-Man and has spider powers, but he's a very relatable character.
He's a teenager in high school.
Yeah. But people are still saying
difficult.
People are still saying that it doesn't have to be Miles Morales. People want Donald Glover to be Peter Parker.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think Donald Glover should be playing a high schooler.
Yeah.
Anymore.
We just made fun of them using Tobey Maguire.
I was totally for that. Like 5 years ago
when
they announced Amazing Spider-Man.
He actually played the voice in the cartoon.
And it looked weird because it's his voice of a 30-year-old man in a 13-year-old's body.
It wasn't ultra awkward. I don't know. I mean, but in my mind, it's like, okay, so who else is there then? Who's going to be?
There's plenty of them.
I don't know. Like I don't like the idea of we have to shoehorn in some actor just because we want Spider-Man to be black or something like that.
No, not at all.
And I think that's a lot of the drive of this. Like, Donald Glover, he's the black Spider-Man. That's what we need right now.
No, I think he's like a good fit for the character, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that probably won't happen.
No, just based on his age.
Yeah,
it's too late.
Look at the Fantastic Four movie. All very, very young.
Yeah.
Cast, and I think Spider-Man is strongest when he's a very young, like 16-year-old high schooler.
Yeah,
that's his strongest.
The
form.
balancing of the high school with the high school and social life with being Spider-Man is what makes Ultimate Spider-Man so cool.
Yeah, but imagine that. Think of the Avengers.
Right.
All the characters in the Avengers. You got Tony Stark. He's a billionaire. You got Captain America.
He's like 45.
Yeah, he's 145. You got Thor. He's literally a god, and then
he's literally infinite age.
Yeah, and then you have Spider-Man. He's a 16-year-old kid who he has to balance high school with being in the Avengers with all these titans.
Cool.
That's cool, right? So it should the character, whoever they cast him as, should be very young. At least look very young.
Yeah. When I'm swinging in, being like, "Hey Tony, I need help with my homework."
Yeah. So
get out of here, nerd.
Yeah.
I think that if they do it that way, it'll be very strong.
Right.
And I'm sure, in the future we'll talk about, who would casting rumors and such.
I think
we won't know for a while.
I've heard some rumors so far. I've heard Logan Lerman, who was in that Brad Pitt movie Fury.
Oh.
Where he plays the very young soldier in this battalion of older, more experienced guys.
Captain America.
In that tank, the tank movie, what I'm talking about.
Fury.
With
Brad Pitt.
I haven't seen
Shia
it.
LaBeouf.
Yeah. But I didn't see it either, but I'm just saying.
Wasn't that part of the Sunny League? Something?
Yes, the movie itself.
Yeah. No, that's all I heard about it. It was just part of a leak.
But I'm saying that going back to what you're saying, this kid who doesn't know his place, and
it's a great contrast.
He's played the character before, essentially.
Yeah, so that,
and he's a decent actor.
Yeah, so that maybe it might be an unknown.
Yeah, that's my thing. I think
Marvel Studios in the past have got lots of unknowns or relative unknowns. People who haven't really been in major parts or only a handful of parts. And again, if we're going for a younger actor, might have been in a handful of roles before this. So they're probably going to be made famous by being Spider-Man in Marvel Studio movies. I mean, I didn't really know Andrew Garfield before he became Spider-Man. So, again, to speculate on casting, it's probably going to be someone we don't know.
Yeah. But do we know what the movie is going to be?
Yeah, that's the question to come back to is
I have no idea.
When can we expect to first see?
Everyone is saying Civil War.
But it's also
the rhetoric of the announcement made it seem like he's going to be in a movie and then in a solo movie.
No, yeah. So he's going to be in a Marvel movie.
That's
and
like
then
what they say.
Yeah. I think everyone wants it to be Civil War because
that's where he fits.
Yeah,
but it's also going to be incredibly difficult establishing his character and also having him play that fundamental role that he did in those comics.
But just like you were talking about earlier with Batman and like Superman, it's like you don't need to like reiterate like, oh, Peter Parker's Uncle Ben is dead. It's like everyone knows this.
Yeah, that's part of what made Amazing Spider-Man so difficult to watch.
Yeah, because we're fresh off the heel. We're fresh off the heels of the original trilogy,
right?
And now we're rebooting it.
And I live in an age where I can get that movie at any moment of my life. I can watch it right now if I really needed to. Like, you don't need to retell the same story. Of course, then. There are people who don't know the story.
There's always going to be a handful of people.
They will fuck themselves.
I think it would be really funny if, like, in the movie itself, they kind of like almost like toss a quick little jab about just like Peter Parker's backstory in like a sentence, like not even like oh, we're going to talk about your whole thing, and like Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. could just do one of his really quick talking little bits.
But then it assumes he knows who Peter Parker is. And the strength...
And they should know who Peter Parker is, because that thing in Captain America that knows who every superhero is.
Yeah.
What thing?
The thing that was going to kill all of them.
The computer.
Oh.
The computer.
I'm a computer!
Oh, I guess. Well, that...
Metal Gear Solid 2.
Okay, let's talk about this then, because if Spider-Man's first appearance is supposed to be in Civil War movie, Captain America 3, right?
Yes.
Right.
The whole Spider-Man's role in Civil War. I don't know if you guys read it. I'm assuming, Dan, you've read it.
Yeah, I've read it.
I don't know if you've read it.
I've read most.
His important role is that he reveals his identity.
Yeah.
Right.
But it wasn't 16-year-old kid Spider-Man revealing his identity. It was 45-year-old universe-established Spider-Man finally revealing his identity after so long, and it's this big revelation, which is quickly subverted by subsequent comics. But the whole thing people remember about is that, like, finally Spider-Man's identity is known by everyone. And this is a big moment because Spider-Man's identity is so tightly protected over his entire storyline up to that point. I think there's only, 2 villains, Venom and the Green Goblin, who ever find out his identity.
Right.
And that's a big deal. It's a big deal in the story. Everyone else doesn't know who he is. If you go in immediately subverting that, or if right at the gate everyone knows that Spider-Man is Peter Parker, it kind of... You don't get that strength of as a secret identity.
Yeah, but I guess the question is, so would you rather not have the same level of impact, or would you rather have the scene not be there at all?
I'd rather. I think one of the strengths of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films is that he gets the balance of like it's so hard to be Spider-Man, and especially when you can't tell anyone that you're Spider-Man.
Yeah,
like it kills you. It's like I have a good reason why I can't be there for all these life events that are happening, but if I told you, it would put you in danger. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And it's like that dichotomy worked so well in those movies that I don't know. I'd like to. I think it is a good.
But like, let's assume that the idea is already set forth. Marvel Studios is like Spider-Man's going to be in Civil War. It's like difficult to be.
He could be in it and not reveal his identity.
Yeah, he could be in Civil War. It seems like they have that whole movie worked out already.
Yeah.
He could be in Civil War and not the same role. Because they were going to make that movie regardless of if they got Spider-Man.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's probably not going to be in that role. And I think the Civil War... I mean, we keep saying Civil War. It's not going to be the Civil War story we know. It's just going to be the general
Right.
conflict of I think government registration or some sort of government.
I think it's registration of powers.
Even then, it's like every character in the Marvel universe pretty much already has their identity revealed, so that doesn't really mean much.
I guess that's true.
Especially
when you're looking at the Avengers, it's like, I'm Tony Stark. This is
that was the ending of that first movie.
Yeah,
that was an awesome ending.
They established right at the gate that Iron Man as Tony Stark, he's not gonna have a secret identity. Captain America doesn't have a secret identity. Thor is Thor. He doesn't have a secret identity because he only has one identity.
Right.
The Hulk, I guess, not really.
Some people know who he is.
Yeah,
but
not a secret
public,
really.
In public, everyone knows the Hulk is. You just don't fuck with him.
Yeah. Again, it's hard. The Hulk is basically invincible anyway. So even if people figure out his identity, it's like whatever. He doesn't have a love interest character in this new thing that could go going on. So, Mark Ruffalo's Hulk doesn't have anything really to lose. So, don't care about his identity. Who else?
Black Widow and Hawkeye are
both
agents of
S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, so they constantly are putting their lives on the line.
They are constantly being called by not the superhero name anyway. So
Yeah.
That's true.
So basically none of the characters have secret identities. Is the moral of the story. So having one character whose secret identity is crucial to their survival would be a different dynamic. Imagine you had Spider-Man as part of the Avengers, but no one knew who he was. I mean, it might be really hard to do. I think it might be cool, but considering how these movies are structured, there's a lot of dialogue, a lot of character chatting, character development. It's going to be hard to do that if Spider-Man always has a mask on.
He's just in very casual outfits, still has the mask on. Want to take that thing off?
That happens in comic books all the time, but it doesn't work well for a movie,
Yeah.
In comic books, you have everyone in full gear, having conversations, and that's not a big deal, but unless his identity is secret within the Avengers and publicly not known, that might be a way to get around it.
Yeah.
That way you could still have, no mass conversations, but Spider-Man's identity is still important. There's lots of possibilities.
That would kind of also be interesting to see because isn't Tony's whole deal that he wants people to kind of, have their identities out? So it would kind of be more interesting to have these conversations where Tony and Captain America both know Spider-Man's identity and both of them kind of, can, in a way, almost strong arm him into joining their side because it's
that would be another.
I already know.
It's
who you are.
That's a characterization for both of them because Tony Stark is so open about him being Iron Man, and even in Iron Man 2, it's you approved Iron Man but not Tony Stark. He's but we're the same thing.
Yeah.
And then Captain America in Winter Soldier was all about. What's the price of freedom and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So
they've already established that tone and that sort of
It would work very well that Captain America is trying to let him have a secret identity.
Mm-hmm.
Where Tony Stark is no.
But it's
Come on, man.
It's still going to be a tall order in one movie
to
establish Spider-Man and then also have him be torn between two opposing camps.
Right.
It's like, hey guys, I'm Spider-Man. I'm a new superhero. Join my side. No, join my side.
Join my club.
It's gonna be a lot in one movie.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to pull off. I'm curious to see how
I feel like
I'm definitely
I feel like that's the theme of every comic book movie coming out right now. It's just you got a lot to pull off in this movie. Can you do it?
Marvel Studios has not seriously fucked up yet, so I give them the benefit of the doubt.
And even I've said before, Iron Man 2 and 3 are the worst of the Marvel movies.
And they're still enjoyable.
It's you just have to be better than that, which isn't terribly hard. I don't know how hard it is.
I'm saying their challenges in balancing things is going to be harder as they move forward because they're going to have an ever larger cast of characters,
right?
And they're going to have to. Now they're starting to run into the same problem with DC. It's we have to run with. We're going to have a new character, and we sort of have to throw them into the middle of this already moving thing. With the first Avengers, it was each movie was done independently, and then we brought them all together at the same time. They already had their own origins, and now they're in one movie together.
So
this is not going to happen in the future.
I guess my question is it at all possible, this might sound silly, is it at all possible that Spider-Man could pop up in the next Avengers movie? In this, Age of Ultron?
No. It's too...
Could they have
the deal
already...
just happened.
No,
the deal did just happen.
Could that be them just publicly announcing the deal?
Secretly, a year ago, they made the deal.
On,
if that...
But what is that?
The level of secrecy that they had to...
That's exactly what
you know, leaks. Basically, we know everything about movies and casting long before we have these movies ever come
internet.
out.
Well,
Yeah.
They did keep Thanos a secret.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying they can't keep secrets. It's a tall order.
It could be
keeping Spider-Man a secret is very hard.
But like, it could be something as simple as like, oh no, Captain America's like fighting off all these Ultron bots, and then just like a web comes out of nowhere, and everyone loses their minds. Like,
I don't know. I'd say it's too late in the game. I mean,
I wouldn't say that he would be a part.
Unless they like went back and re-edited.
I would say he'd be a part of like a thing, like an end credits scene.
maybe they'd talk about him at one point and be like, hey, this kid from New York City, what's he up to?
And even that,
And
like,
they
if
push
you
him in a
just
locker.
show Spider-Man, that's all CGI anyway. So
Yeah.
it's not even like you have.
Yeah, you don't have to have a cast. That's what I'm saying.
my-
You don't have to have a casted person. You could just have Superman.
I don't know. It would have to be done in post after the fact, and it would like an end credit scene potentially maybe.
Potentially.
Anything more than that, I think it would be too all of an order to go back and edit that in to a movie that's already a hell of a thing to put together. You
Right.
know, it seems unnecessary. I don't need to see Spider-Man in this movie. Just the fact that he's going to exist at some point is enough for me. You know.
But do you think seeing him in this movie might make him easier to establish? Is my thing.
No, because if you're just throwing him out there, it's like the cameos that's supposed to happen in these other movies where, like, if I'm going to see this character for 5 seconds, it doesn't really establish them besides the fact that they're going to be in the universe.
But I'm not even saying.
I don't know their character. I don't know their origin. I don't know, you know, what their relationships are to other characters. All this is what I mean by establishing. Like,
Okay.
you know, I know the general gist of what this character is
I
about.
mean, everyone knows Spider-Man, but his role within the rest of the story is yet to be seen.
Yeah, exactly. So it's there's a lot of questions, as I'm
But-
sure everyone can
Yeah.
tell.
But either way, he's Spider-Man.
He's there.
now.
Yeah, he's
My,
there.
my point
Marvel
is, I'm
Studios.
generally pleased with this. If that isn't evident, I'm you know, I think the Amazing Spider-Man was passable, but not really what Spider-Man as a property deserves. I think there's a lot more potential there.
That's fair.
You know, and I think Marvel Studios, I mean, they might fuck it up. You know, who knows? But I think they, in general, have done well.
Yeah.
And I think he might, if they do it right, and you know, seeing him interact with all those other characters at all will be just cool.
Yeah.
It's every fanboy's dream, you know, like you said earlier.
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
in
I
the
approve.
Avengers.
I approve. Let's wait and see.
I approve.
I just want him to do a maximum spider.
Wait, hold on. What's it called? Paul Giamatti, 2 thumbs up.
Oh yes, Spider-Man, Paul Giamatti, Rhino, thumbs up.
What do you think the movie's going to be called?
What, the new Spider-Man
Yeah, do you
solo
think they're
movie?
going to call it Spider-Man? Just because?
They're going to call it
The Spectacular
Yeah, I was
Spider-Man?
about to say spectacular
Maybe.
or something with a subtitle.
Spider-Man the Reckoning.
Spider-Man the
Spider-Man.
Arachning.
No, never.
They're probably just going to pull a JJ from Star Trek and just call it Spider-Man.
Maybe.
Spider-Man in the Darkness.
Yeah.
Spider.
But, like, you know, like,
Or
people
like-
don't care about the technicalities of subtitles. If, you know, they go see the movie sign, it says Spider-Man on it. I'm
Yeah.
going to go see
I'm
Spider-Man.
not going to go up to the person at the window and be like,
I would
one
like,
ticket for Avengers Age of Ultron,
Yeah.
please.
I'd like
Just
to
like-
see Age of Ultron. Yeah, Avengers.
I'd like to see
Avengers, just like everyone else is going to call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see the latest iteration of this thing, please.
Yeah.
Essentially, you don't ever need. They should never give any numbers to the ends of movies. Every movie should just be called the same thing.
I guess going off
Spider-Man. Which Spider-Man was that? That was the.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't
They're all
matter.
the same.
They're all the same.
Spider-Man. No, not Tobey Maguire. No, not Andrew Garfield either. I mean, I guess if you're going off what the title's going to be, do you think they're going to, like... What do you think they're going to do for a villain? Do you think it's going to be like, all right, let's do Green Goblin again. All right, let's do, like, someone that they've done already? Or do you think they're going to go, like, into
Smart-
the archives and, like, all right...
Smart decision is to do someone different because we've already seen
Yeah.
2 iterations of the Green Goblin. I mean, Green Goblin's a great starting villain because he's the significant villain, but
But 2 times.
we've seen it twice already, and we don't need it again.
Dr. Octopus again? Would you see
Dr.
that?
Octopus could potentially. I mean,
Mm.
I know some people are talking about Mysterio as a cool villain
Oh.
that we haven't seen.
That would be
Um,
really cool, actually.
And
He's
Mysterio,
I mean, he's a very low-level villain. But then again, like, every character that they're using to make these awesome movies are so low-level.
yeah.
Like,
I mean, the Lizard.
in the grand scheme of things, yeah, well, they're awesome.
Lizard would be a bad idea because they just did that.
Yeah.
You know, basically anything they just did in Amazing Spider-Man, probably a bad idea. Dr. Ock might work because they did that in Spider-Man 2 way back when.
That was a while ago.
Yeah. And they could do a very different Doctor. Doc Ock. Because
definitely.
Sam Raimi's villains were all super sympathetic and well developed.
Very tragic.
Yeah, exactly. Tragic villain.
Let's go back to bowl cut asshole Doc Ock.
Yeah. Like Doc Ock is one of the most like blatantly evil Spider-Man villains.
Yeah.
You know, besides like Green Goblin, who's just insane. Like Doc Ock's just really evil, and you know he's an evil scientist.
Let's toss Carnage in there just for good measure.
Nope. Nothing from the 90s. I think that's a good rule.
No, you wouldn't want Carnage in there.
No.
Like Spider-Man versus Carnage.
Carnage doesn't make sense without Venom, and Venom doesn't really make sense to do in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not against them doing Venom in the future, because I like Venom, but I mean, it's very, you have to, it doesn't really work well, because the symbiote is its own thing. You have to do symbiote before Venom, and then symbiote has to be, you can't do that right out the gate, you have to do that with an established character.
That's what they've been trying to do, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah. Just stray away from any symbiote-related things for a while. I'd say Doc Ock.
Also, a lot of these like long-time Spider-Man fans aren't a huge fan of Venom.
Yeah.
Because he is that, like, pure, like, he's like the embodiment of 90s comics where it's over the top, violent, and just like spikes,
tongue flipping out,
spikes and gross things, and just for them it's not
and a big
as cool as like we think it is. Because we're like, oh, Venom, he's so big and strong and he kills Spider-Man.
But he's not a very elegant villain.
Right, exactly.
No,
like Doc Ock, you could do a lot of cool things with because he's like a scientist and like you have lots of potential for like what is his scheme, what is
Venom is like crawling on the ground, tongue flicking everywhere.
Exactly.
Venom
still awesome.
Venom is hard to do, and I would definitely not for a first movie. Definitely not for a first movie. Doc Ock, I think might work. I mean, what you could have like there's a couple. There's like Shocker, Vulture, Mysterio. Like these are like you said, lower level villains, but. Maybe if you had like 2 in a movie, might work. I don't know.
We'd have to see.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of other
I'd say probably Doc Ock. Maybe Mysterio might work by himself because you could probably have like a cool, sort of you don't know who the villain is plot. Like Mysterio villain until the end.
Cool.
Yeah. So I don't know. I leave that to their judgment because besides like the obvious stuff, there's a lot of room for like make it work.
If they had the budget.
If we had the budget at DTV.
If they had the budget, Spider-Man would make an awesome TV show. I think more so than some of these other superheroes.
Yeah, because Spider-Man has a rich assortment of villains to fight.
The villains go from big and small.
Same with Flash. Flash is like
exactly
the equivalent.
Flash is a TV superhero.
Yeah.
They're going to make a movie. I don't know. We'll see. Whatever. But Spider-Man is the same way. He would make a good TV superhero.
Because the next episode, you have the next minor villain.
Plus, it's all these threads that they tried to do this with Amazing Spider-Man 2. Have the flipping story, like all the different story threads that started but didn't go anywhere because they're not doing that movie anymore.
Well, within the same movie, they can't keep things
exactly.
straight.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
so there's so many non sequiturs
in a television series. That's how stories are told, and in comic books, that's how stories are told.
Yeah.
So when I was watching Amazing Spider-Man 2, I was like, oh, this is kind of like a comic book. You get to see what the villains are up to a little bit.
Yeah.
You get to see what
your perspective is jumping around.
Yeah.
What you mentioned Amazing Spider-Man 2, and that's just jogged my memory. There's that one scene where you see Vulture's wings, Doc Ock stuff. What's like? Is this
they were attempting? They were building up to some sort of Sinister Six.
Is that gone now?
Yeah, that was supposed to be the next Spider-Man universe movie.
Oh, it's gone now.
Was Sinister Six movie? But again, it doesn't really work. Sinister Six would work in like a TV show where, like, if you had a bunch of over the first season, a bunch of villains are established, and then they all get pissed, and they're like, well, if we team together and we all work together to fight Spider-Man, we'll win. And that's basically the idea of every Sinister Six plot. And then you have a nice
hour-long finale, and it's cool.
Yeah, that would work for a TV show. What doesn't work for a movie because you have to shove like 5 new villains into your final film that are not established.
And here all these other guys go.
Yeah. And then you have Spider-Man 3, but worse. In terms of like villain overload. So that was I knew that was going to be a bad idea just from the concept. It's not going to work. But I think we've all established that a lot of good things potentially on the horizon. Sad to see Andrew Garfield go, but this is I think
interesting to see where they're going next.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll reserve judgment, of course, but I'm excited.
He also, Andrew Garfield didn't seem like he wanted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That was the whole crisis. Was that he was wanting to leave, or at least was threatening to leave, and they didn't really know what to do with it.
I don't know if he was threatening, but he was definitely like. He was outwardly saying, "Oh, it'd be cool if they had like a black guy play Spider-Man." It's just like, don't you want to play Spider-Man?
Oh no, I'm not done with that.
Yeah. I've made my money now. I can make good movies.
I got to make out with Emma Stone quite a lot, so I'm happy.
I think they're dating.
They're dating.
Are they dating?
Yeah.
Okay. That's got to make.
He's going home with the
That's
trophy.
got to make all the fans happy.
Yeah, definitely someone on Tumblr is super
Yeah, I'm
excited.
so excited right now.
A lot of people on Tumblr.
Okay, I think that's about it.
I think we've covered all of the bases.
All right, so next week we'll talk about something else.
We'll see. All right.
Hopefully we'll get another big announcement out of the blue.
Yeah, it seems to happen every week. I don't know.
Now Wolverine's going to be in Avengers 2.
Yeah, Wolverine.
Please
Wolverine is gay. Okay.
Oh.
Okay. I'm gonna cut right there. Wolverine is gay.
No. Whatever.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, audience.